All right, this is from the people. What do you think about Trump's proposed $5 million gold card visa for wealthy foreigners? Is it smart economic move or a problematic policy? I guess I know what he's talking about. Trump wants to sell a visa. You get permanent residency. By the way, I looked this up, we are hardly the first country to do this. Doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. But, you know, I remember...
Yeah, we actually have a version of it. It's called, I think it's called the EB-5 or something like that. So it's fine to do it. I actually think maybe it's because I'm, very patriotic. I think 5 million, we should be charging 20 million, or, American citizenship is worth more than that.
It comes with Ukrainian minerals, though.
But what I love about Trump is he said, you get the green card, but with this, the gold card, you get extra privileges. like what? You get to vote twice? Or what?
It's amazing.
Well, now you're speaking Chicago language.
In this video, Bill Maher didn't hold back in a heated confrontation that left a CNN presenter fighting to defend the network's credibility. Live on air, Maher confronted the presenter about CNN's part in generating split, highlighting how mainstream media's distorted narratives have led to widespread distrust. As Maher shredded the network's credibility in real time, the host was pushed to confront unpleasant facts about the industry's complicity in division. This viral moment has reignited issues about whether legacy media would ever take responsibility for its influence or continue to double down on skewed narratives. With CNN's viewership in decline and public distrust at an all-time high, Maher's assault serves as a wake-up call for those still clinging to the notion of unbiased reporting. Will CNN ultimately address the mounting criticism, or will it continue to lose trust and relevance? One thing is sure, Bill Maher has again demonstrated he isn't frightened to fight the status quo.
I think to be fair, this is actually...
I was being fair.
No, this is a huge Democratic Party problem. If you look at Democratic cities, they are terribly run. They have incredibly high taxes. It is impossible to build, so the cost of housing... Let me finish, I give you a chance. The cost of housing is crazy in places like New York and Chicago. If you look at Democratic states, you go look at New York versus Florida, okay? Roughly the same population. The budget of New York State is twice that of Florida. What do they have? Streets paved with gold? I live in New York. I pay the highest taxes in New York. You get nothing for it. And I think that is the image people have of the Democratic Party. Lots of taxes, lots of regulation, but nothing gets done.
Hey,
and I
live in L.A.
Right. If the Democrats have to own this and realize the answer to everything is not more taxes, more regulation. People are fed up of that, and they feel that it isn't working.
The Democrats, look, as somebody who produced the best graduation growth in the country,
high taxes and onerous regulations are stifling development in America's biggest cities, making it virtually impossible for firms to succeed and for average folks to afford an acceptable standard of life. Zachariah says that Democratic-led cities have gotten overly bureaucratic, with layers of red tape and sky-high taxes that force both corporations and inhabitants away. He references locations like New York and Chicago, where the cost of living has increased, yet core public services remain ineffectual. Comparing New York's bloated budget to Florida's tighter approach, Zachariah underscores that throwing more money at problems isn't the solution. Cutting redundant laws and having government work smarter, not more, is the key to renewing urban regions. While disagreements over taxes and regulations are crucial, Emmanuel feels that communities prosper or collapse depending on three fundamental pillars: safe streets, strong schools, and secure finances. Without a focus on public safety, education, and effective budgeting, no number of economic policy adjustments will alleviate the basic challenges facing urban areas. Drawing on his experience as mayor of Chicago, Emmanuel argues that when these key responsibilities are fulfilled, cities become more livable, corporations succeed, and families stay. Instead of getting engaged in philosophical disputes, he recommends authorities focus on practical governance, ensuring crime is under control, schools are creating well-educated graduates, and municipal finances are feasible for the long haul.
You were a good mayor. I agree.
No, that's not the point. The point was but I'll take that. The point isn't the rules. The point is the results. and the party has gotten way too focused on what the rules are. And I do agree with you on this. We have made it impossible to function as a city or as a state, and been so, take an example of this example. Here, obviously in LA, it took a fire and a natural disaster to make you realize, you know what, that rule's not that important. In Pennsylvania, a bridge collapse, all of a sudden we go, well, that environmental rule is just not important. We got to build a bridge. It's much more important. And I think the Democratic Party should take a look at it and say, we're going to be honest, like we did in 1994 with reinventing government. Everything is on the table. Nothing is safe. And we can just look at it and say, that's essential. Those two things get out of here. And that doesn't happen. And that's a fair criticism.
Maybe this is your next Democratic vice presidential candidate, maybe presidential candidate. And by the way, he's also, that counts as handicap. You can slip him by.
This gets you handicap parking right here.
The debate over the Democratic Party's leadership isn't just about partisanship, it's about policy effectiveness. Critics say Democratic-led areas like New York and California suffer from overregulation and high taxes, driving up living costs and pushing businesses away. In contrast, Republican-led states like Florida credit lower taxes and deregulation for economic growth. However, the issue is more complex than red versus blue. While Democrats argue their policies fund vital services, they face growing frustration over affordability, crime, and inefficiency. To stay relevant, the party must prove progressive policies can deliver results without hurting economic competitiveness.
Democrats have way too much time on their hands.
No, this is the thing that's going on today.
It mistakes. This is why I was saying that there really is a movement of people doing interpretive dances to protest the Trump administration's cuts of USAID. I mean, like, people are starving. You know, the thing about not winning, as you said, is you're left with these kind of absurdities, right? The answer is figure out how to win elections. You know, that's, I mean, yes. Watch the Democrats. Listen to the Democrats about Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, both of whom you worked for. So these are the only two Democrats since Franklin Roosevelt to have won 2 terms, right?
Yeah.
And what does the party say? They did everything wrong. We've got to get away from this. Like, wait a minute. They're the ones who won the elections, right? Bernie Sanders didn't win. AOC hasn't been president recently. Like, you know, the Labour Party does this with Tony Blair. They're like, Blair is horrible. It's like, he won 3 elections.
Yeah, let me get breaking news: 100,000 new community police officers or defund the police. Now, which one do you think is going to work? It's crazy on this part, but it's an example of this. I think the party, you know, if you're talking about interpretive dance and everything like that, and what's really crazy about where the party's gone, it's taken an identity politics that the only way you have a moral standing is you're somehow been hurt. And that is insane. And if you want to take a moral standing of an identity politics based on where you've been hurt, then we're going to do it about the working and middle-class families of this country who's gotten the shaft over the last 30 years. And that is where we...
The concept of an economic boycott, such as the proposed no-spend day, indicates an increasing discontent with corporate power and economic unfairness. But the effect of such symbolic protests remains quite uncertain. The assumption behind the campaign is that by refusing to spend money for a single day, individuals may send a message to billionaires and major businesses about their dominance over the economy and political system. However, as the panelists pointed out, this form of activism is primarily theatrical and unlikely to have any serious impact on the financial giants it seeks to confront. A one-day spending limit does little to impact corporate revenues, and consumers participating will likely make purchases before or after the protest, eliminating any meaningful economic repercussions. Rather than partaking in fleeting symbolic gestures, the panelists believe that individuals angry with corporate dominance should focus on more real avenues of change, particularly via political activity. Winning elections, influencing policy, and lobbying for legislative reforms are substantially more effective than ephemeral boycotts that may generate online excitement but lack real-world influence. The exchange reveals a broader issue with modern activism: the temptation to put social media-driven protest culture over protracted political involvement. While economic inequality and corporate excess are important concerns, real change demands more than a theatrical resistance. It demands purposeful, long-term initiatives to restructure power systems via governance, policy, and elections. So, What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.